Brony Geeks proudly presents What's the Topic Review. The following audio may contain language and other materials that may not be for a younger audience. The opinions expressed in this audio are solely of the speakers themselves. These conversations may contain spoilers for current media such as games, comics, movies, television shows, and more. Growing Geeks makes no claim to ownership of any of the various media discussed, simply the opinions expressed. Listener discretion is advised. Be sure to stop on by the Facebook group, scan your phone over any of the QR codes for any of that amazing content. Here is the beautiful YouTube with two fresh Gag Sports topics up there. We have the 2001 NFL redraft, and we had Gag on the Balls episode 51 where we covered the NBA Finals, the SEC, and Aaron Rodgers. Here's our link tree to all the stuff we got going on here.
Aaron.
And for today's review, we have He-Man, Masters of Revelation, Netflix's newest property from Kevin Smith, coming in at a fresh 95% on Rotten Tomatoes. The audience, however, gave it a 36%, so we'll get into that when we get going, but that's something worth discussing right there in of itself. For today's panel, we have the Lord of all things geek, the King of Castle Grayskull, Condom Meant King. See, I said your name. You thought I wouldn't say it.
Hey.
And I am your host, Skellahor.
That shit is hilarious.
It was just too simple. It was too easy not to. But I mean, like, first of all, before we get going, how we doing, Tony? How we doing?
Oh, you mean besides the outbreak scare at my damn job where I had to go home yesterday?
Well, besides
I'm
that,
good.
Yeah. I mean, at least like your kids ain't with you, so like you can't pass it on if that's a thing. So I mean,
I don't know. My kids are like immune to the world right now. I don't think they've only been sick like twice in their fucking life.
they're just impervious to just everything. Good for them.
It's like, God damn.
So if like I Am Legend was to happen, they would be like the survivors with their dogs.
They
just
probably
hunting
be the
everybody else
last.
down.
They be the last two left, but they don't do science and shit, so that'll be it.
We had a good run, humanity. We had a good run.
my oldest would be the one talking to mannequins and shit. Youngest would probably be with the dog. That's how it worked out. Yeah. Pretty much.
But yeah, I'm Brent. I'll just be moderating. We have a lot to break down with He-Man Masters of Revelation. We'll try and keep it as compact as possible, but knowing us, we'll see how it goes.
No, we won't.
Before we get too far into things, let's just give you want to give your initial review, just your quick synopsis, and then we'll get in detail as we get going.
Well, let me say this. I was refreshed to see that He-Man was getting a rework, as we like to call it, and especially by Kevin Smith, because I do respect his work. So when I watched the trailer, because you have to watch a trailer every now and then, and I saw the animation that was in it, I was like, okay, I can get behind this. Because myself, I grew up on He-Man. I had a Castle Grayskull. I had the action figures, or dolls, as my mom called them. I had them. I had almost all of them. I couldn't get an Orko because the fucker was just that popular. That's my dude. So when this came out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a chance. So the day it dropped, I literally hit play. I didn't look at how many episodes. I didn't see how long it was. Play. Okay. I can get behind it. Start off with He-Man fucking up shit. Okay, I can get behind this. What? He died? What the fuck just happened? Skeletor dead too? Wait a minute. It's like 15 minutes into the show. What the fuck? How is this gonna work? It's called He-Man for a reason. What the fuck is going on here? And I'm sitting back and I'm like, oh, so now all the magic about to disappear. Oh, this ain't good. This ain't good at all. And now people starting like, when I compare it to the older version, more people knew He-Man's identity than in the newer version. Let's just say that. Because Teela did eventually find out in the older version she was fine with it. In the newer version, she was
all
more
up in her
upset.
feelings about it.
I was like,
Spent too many episodes on that.
woman, don't you fucking understand? It's called a secret identity.
It's like finding out your best friend was Batman and getting pissed off of that. He's going to fight crime. You're like, what are you doing?
The only reason Man-at-Arms knew about it is because he had to know about it. When the sorcerer said, hey, Man-at-Arms was there, he had no choice but to know. The mom and dad were never told, but the mom figured it out because she's quite intelligent. The dad is more I wish my son would be a man type of guy.
Is
That's
impervious to that kind of
he's
information for
impervious to
whatever
this motherfucker
reason.
out here coming out in a fucking chainmail speedo fighting, fighting people. So the mom knew. I understand that's your best friend, but again, secret identity is needed for multiple things because we've all seen when a hero's secret identity was revealed, who's the people the villain goes after?
The family, always the family.
Family,
Start there.
loved ones. So if y'all are friends and best friends like y'all are, you and Prince Adam, and they figure out, oh shit, Prince Adam is He-Man, who can we hurt? Let's go after his parents. Let's go after all his friends. Orko, Teela, Man at Arms.
Cringer.
Of course. I mean, Cringer, I'm glad to see that was the one constant in this show because all the other characters had somewhat of a change.
Like a
To
slight
their
nuance, but it wasn't like
To their, like-
egregiously out there.
Man at Arms was a little more intelligent than he was. He was more of a Tony Stark type of guy in this one. Not saying he wasn't.
I was gonna say he
The
was
guy-
like the strongest character throughout.
Yeah, not saying he wasn't the guy in the original, but his hand to hand was okay. He wasn't fucking Batman level like he was in this one because he was making shit on the fly and then kicking people asses.
He's putting hands on people.
I said I'm not mad at that because he was a pivotal character, so he does need to be. It does need to be separate. I will say, I love how they did some of the villains like Beastman. I love that change because he was a fucking idiot and he was weak in the original. This one, he was all about evil in, but he had hands and he would fight and he don't care who you were. He was in your face. I'm not mad about that. The evil in character, she was okay. I wish they would have kept the helmet on.
Yeah, as soon as
That's
they took the
like-
helmet off, I'm like, no,
I was like,
no.
You know what? You kind of turned into a Marvel character.
It was
right
like
now.
it was exactly what happened with the newest Star Wars. Like as soon as Kylo Ren took off his mask, I did not give a shit about the character. It was like if you kept that
Like-
mask on for 2 movies, I would have been invested in the third reveal.
that was like her thing. It's like He-Man and his big ass X on his chest with the chainmail.
You
That's
know
his
that's just
thing.
some horrible chafing on top of that too. Like
It-
that is,
it-
I'd
I
be
mean,
so pissed off. Would not be a hero if I'm wearing that.
He's got impervious skin, so that don't affect him. But once they did that, it kind of knocked her down a notch. I did like that after they killed off He-Man and Skeletor, supposedly. They did have the bitch and bone session with Teela, which can be understood. But like you said, they did take it on a little too long for me. And her moping kind of defeated the strength of her character.
Because she's a strong ass woman. She doesn't need to be rooted in the identity of having like a male compatriot. Like, sure, that's your best friend and that's someone you cared for deeply, but like, she was such a strong person for everybody else. Why couldn't she be strong for herself? You know,
And-
it was
Especially now because, like I said, everybody in this version got an upgrade. Teela got strong. Teela wasn't the next Man at Arms, but in this one, she was. So that lets you know how much of an upgrade she had. So when it just kept, and it's like every episode it was something. I'm like, okay, we get it. You're pissed about this. We understand. Move the fuck on from that. Okay, you understand. You quit. You don't want nothing to do with the Royal Family no more. Okay. But when they came back needing help, you reassembled your crew.
it's like, and you were the first person to show up for the job. So like,
You were still pissed at Man at Arms, but you knew where you had to go to get help. He was disgraced, but he still came up and was laying hands on folks for the good.
I mean, it was definitely a twist on the original. Because I mean, I was very very little like when I got around to watching like the reruns on Cartoon Network and all that, and what was like still going on at the time. So it was very very vague. All I remember is like by the power of Grayskull, the magic would hit his sword. He'd just become jagged. Cringer would become, you know,
Battle Cat.
Battle Cat, and then put hands on
I had-
everybody.
I had the Battle Cat. I had the big one. Ooh.
But Skeletor just seemed so useless, like in the old ones. But I was like a child, so I was like, he just never stood a chance because, like, you see,
And in
He-Man,
this one,
it was just
And again, when you heard him speak,
Joker just jumped through.
It jumped. I was like, you know what?
It wasn't
I
even like a
didn't
slight fade. It was
I
literally like if
didn't
you took the
see
Batman Arkham
Skeletor.
Joker, it was just right there. It's like I love Hamill, but I didn't love him for this
And you know what
role.
else? You know what else he did? The pretty much the exact same voice.
The laugh.
And yeah, all that. When he was on the Flash. Remember when he was Toy Man? The original Toy Man, because his son was on there too. And he came out, he started talking. I was like, why are you doing the Joker voice?
It's like is Mark Hamill like a one-trick pony for like his villain
I
voice? Is like this
I,
is
I
what it
think
is.
that's his he's a Joker voice actor. That's all he is. I hate to say it. I haven't heard him do any other voices. Every animated character I've seen him do sounds similar to the Joker.
Did you know that Kevin Conroy was in this?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know
But
that
you could
until looking up through the cast list. I'm like, Batman's in this? You have Batman
yes.
and Joker in this?
But you couldn't tell unless you knew how his voice was. He changed the way he talks. So when he talked, you didn't hear Batman.
No, because he was Merman, and you're just like,
Right.
what?
But if you listen for his bass undertone, because everybody has that significant voice unless they change it all the time. You know, a lot of people on Cartoon Network voice multiple actors. Well, voice multiple characters,
Yeah.
but you would never know it. But that's a different level of skill than what you had in here. Because yes, Conroy was Merman. You could tell it was him, but you wouldn't say, okay, he did Batman. Mark, on the other hand, sounded just like Joker. And that's one of the things I did not like about this. He was strong character, reminded me too much of Joker.
It was like way too much there of Joker's. Like, I love Joker. I've always
And
said Mark Hamill does the best Joker voice, I think, on God's green
and
earth,
what did
maybe
I
till the
tell
day I
you
die.
before you watched it? What did I tell you? I said you gonna know what I'm talking about when it's gonna upset you.
It was immediate. It was like as soon as I heard the voice, I'm like, that's not Skeletor. Like I
That's not.
understand there's similarities, but it's not the same damn thing.
You could have went back and listened to the OG Skeletor laugh. That shit might have been, campy as hell, but it was fucking hilarious.
It's like that's what he was
that's
supposed to be.
that's what he's a fucking skeleton.
Yeah.
That's what he's. So when I heard, I was like, okay, I got you. Star power.
Cause I mean,
But
literally, they had Chris Wood as He-Man, Harley Quinn Smith as Alina, Lena Headey from Game of Thrones as Evil Lynn, Mark Hamill was Skeletor, Sarah Michelle Gellar did Tila, so she did
what you
all the
wouldn't
heavy
have
lifting of
known,
that. No,
you didn't know.
I didn't know. And then Liam Cunningham from Game of Thrones as well was Man at Arms. Like I heard the voice, I'm like, where? I know that voice. Where is that from?
Exactly.
And then
And see,
it was
that's
there.
the between a good voice actor and somebody who has that one voice that they're going to be known for.
And then they had Alan Opelheim, who was the original voice of Skeletor, and he was Man at Arms, and then he was, I think he was Cringer as well, or was it Arco? He was the Moss
Orko.
Man.
Orko. Do
Orko.
not disrespect Orko. I keep telling you.
I didn't. I'm just gonna say I don't fuck with that character like that, but like I love what they did for him in this
I
because
love
he
that
had a
they
lot of
gave
character
him.
growth.
I love that they gave him a good backstory.
Because like
On
his
how
battle was probably the highlight of the whole thing.
that's the best he's ever done on any of the episodes ever. I like how they how he got his name, that he was supposed to be called Oracle, but he couldn't pronounce it, so he can't. They got Orko because then he became a disappointment, so they stuck with it.
They're just kind of like, yeah, you kind of fuck up all the time, but it's
Yeah,
no big
so,
deal. So
but that's the thing about his character. He is 100% comic relief. But when push comes to shove and it was time to throw down with some magic, he was there. He could hold his own. He
because
was
like
just
Evil
fucking up
Lynn
all
was
the time.
even like, yeah, you can do some things every once in a while. It's like you just mess up a lot.
Yeah,
Like
and
if you
that's
trained, you'd probably be somebody.
oh, and you saw it when he was in hell or whatever they want to call it, and he was like, "I got this." He was like,
And then he handled his
Or-
business like, okay,
"Orko."
there's something you need to explain to me, and I think it is just for my base root and minimal
Oh, fuck it.
understanding of like He-Man because I was so little watching it and like watching it now. Who the fuck was the ruler of hell? Was that just an iteration of Skeletor,
That's
or is that like
just
a whole
that's
nother
just
thing?
that's just an iteration.
Okay, well, it was.
It's when they went to hell, it showed their greatest fear, basically. That's how they had to get the whole splitting of the sword story is newish, but it's not. You know what I'm saying?
It's like they've done it before, but they didn't do it this way before.
Right. So everything in Revelations has a twist. So the ruler of hell is not like when we think of comics like Mephisto or Necron or even Death with when you're dealing with Thanos and Deadpool.
Mm.
It's just whatever they see. Because remember, she's the only one that saw it.
Yeah, because everyone else was off on their own nightmare, their own issues, and trying to figure out
And
like
then when
what the heck's
Oracle
going on.
came up to fight it, hit it with them 3 rings.
Because like the first ring was cool, and then the second ring is like, I'm impressed, and then the third ring
And
hit,
that
and you're
third
like,
ring, and then
hey.
all them lights started coming out. Like, yep, Oracle is going full on. I'm killing all y'all. I was like, don't. And then he died. Oh man, I was like, for real?
But like after seeing the show, like is death even permanent anymore? Like, I mean, not to
For
throw the
this,
whole
no.
ending out there on there, but like He-Man does come back, and Skeletor does come back, and like with where they
Well,
left everything was just
technically,
nuts.
Skeletor never left.
Yeah,
Remember, he jumped into Evelyn's
Scepter.
whatever ball of justice or whatever the fuck she called that
She
shit.
ain't want justice.
So technically, he never left. Yes, Prince Adams died,
Went to
which
heaven.
I still find it hilarious that he chose his Prince Adam version and not his He-Man version.
He's
That's
just
why
this wimpy little shrimp dude, and everyone else is just.
when they call him Wee Man. Oh, that was it. I had to pause. I laughed. That shit was hilarious. Yep, he's Wee Man. I was like, yeah.
Was I the only one that was like egregiously disturbed that like the progressive voice man was one of the previous He-Mans? I was like, "You're in good hands." I was like, I just need that line one time because like,
Yeah,
his
I
voice was
mean,
just so ridiculously prevalent. You're just,
it's like his
yo.
voice just puts it out there. Like, yeah, I'll follow you. I'll follow you wherever you say.
But I mean,
So
he was still like so ridiculous because at the end he was like, "You could literally live in heaven and never have any issues. The mantle will pass on to somebody else." And he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna give up heaven forever. I'm gonna go save
yeah,
the
I'm
day."
gonna go back with my people down here.
And then like 10 minutes later, the whole
He
universe is just
dies.
fucked.
Dies again. Well, he gets stabbed in the back. Skeletor's.
Skeletor.
I'm like, God damn, you just can't catch a break.
He died
Damn it.
twice in 6 episodes. I mean, Chris Wood is getting the most for the minimal amount of episodes he's had to appear in. So I mean,
Yeah, like
good for
16
him.
words, getting paid just like everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a it was a very very quick show. Like literally, you can watch this in one night, Grown Geeks. Like literally, it is
You can.
one in, one out. Not a big deal. It's like maybe 3 hours, a little bit
But
less
it's
than that.
not He-Man in the Master Universe. Is He-Man 15 minutes?
It is
Everybody else fighting and
Tila
bring him
and the
back.
sidekicks of the universe.
Yes.
That is basically what this is, and you get more character in depth of characters you were
You get a
interested
lot more
about.
backstories. Yeah.
And then a lot of retellings of Tila going through her emotions because like she was such a badass, but it really just dragged the show for me that she was so disturbed in her feelings about everything that had happened with Adam and He-Man and how she just was like, no one told me. And just like you said from the beginning, it's a secret identity. It's not like, it's just something you casually throw out there. Like if he told her, she would never have wanted him to go out and try and save the universe again.
Right.
An
How do
attorney
you
would
know
have
that
just
you know how
suffered.
to? But you know what the funniest thing? One of the funniest thing I saw when fucking Trap Jaw and Triclops made their own fucking cult. Like, y'all ain't that smart. You convert people into machines? The fuck is this bullshit? Oh, that shit was
I mean, you don't
hilarious.
ever look at a cult leader and you're like, oh yeah, that's a genius right there. You just look at the followers and you're just kind of like, what y'all doing? Like, what happened here? Why? How did you end up like this? But like the weirdest line that was thrown into this was, I'm pretty sure you caught it too. When who was Tila's like sidekick character, the inventor
Oh,
chick?
I can't even remember her name.
Like,
That's been bothering me.
because like literally she came out with the line, "No glove, no love," just straight out there in the middle of the show, and you're like, I saw the PG rating. I know what I saw. You can't just throw that out there and be like, expect people not to catch that.
Look, most of these people weren't paying attention.
It's like it was literally in the middle of a fight scene, just no glove, no love. Just really,
Oh, what was her fucking name?
because like I thought she was a good character, but I never remembered her name. It just never stuck with me. And then I think they dropped her name like twice. Never again. Like Roboto had more lines than she did, and I mean, what an appearance for that guy. I mean, damn.
Yep, he did have to sacrifice himself, which was okay.
Like it was kind of tragic, but like you're like also it's a robot. Like what has been made before can be remade again. That's what
I'm about to find out who this chick was.
I was gonna say. Like you're just in a deep dive. All you have to do is basically, I think, type in Tila's sidekick and like her name will
Andra.
pop up.
Andra.
Andra. That is not a memorable name, but that would fit within everything going on. If you had to give one of the voice actors from the show like the most props, which voice like really stuck out to you? Like either you liked it because it stuck true to the originals, or you liked it because it was like a fresh twist on what we had going on.
Actually, I would have to go with Tony Todd.
Really?
Because I didn't know that was him at first until like halfway through the fight. I was like, wait a minute, I know that fucking man. I know that voice. Because I didn't look up people, who's in it. I just knew Mark was in it. That's all I knew. I was like, okay, I don't want to know who's in it. I want to not give it, a celebrity rating for just the star power until I watch it. And so once I started recognizing voices, like, okay, that's not a bad cast. He-Man, great cast. Sarah Michelle, great. But Tony Todd, it's like, I guess for me, because Candyman has such a space in my life that I love that character, and he always puts his all into whatever he does. Even when he was in Final Destination, he still reminded you of, I might be death. That was what everybody was saying when he's in Final Destination. It's like, oh shit, Tony Todd here. Is he death? Is he gonna be? Is he the character of death? Because that's what he gives off. So when you see him and when you hear him, and he starts talking, and then he's having his all in-depth conversations with Tila, it drew me into that character. And I was like, damn, okay, I like that. So I mean, for me, Tony Todd, if I had to do some shit that made me laugh, it had to be Triclops, because that was Henry Rollins. And just that, the whole scene, every time he was in there with his little cult, I mean, it was just hilarious. I mean, those two right there, I fucking hated Mark. I am not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's like I love Mark Hamill, and we've had so many shows where I'm just literally just all about everything Hamill does. This sucked.
Yeah.
Like, there's no nice way of saying it. Like, they gave Skeletor a lot of love, and Skeletor himself and, like, his actions were phenomenal. Skeletor, the voice? That is, like, a hard failing grade.
It was one of the weak spots for me. Just for me. I know a lot of people go, you got to be talking about Joker like that. Oh, I mean, because I'm talking about Skeletor, you can.
Yeah, it's like, Skeletor was not Joker. Like, those things have to be a separate identity. They're not the same IP. They're not supposed to be ridiculously that simple. But like for me, I would have given Lena Headey, Evelyn. I love the voice. There was nothing about that. I was like, as soon as I heard that voice, I'm, oh, yep, that's Lena Headey. You just know who that is. You know what she's done, all of her roles she's been in. She's brought a lot of star power, and she brings a lot of strong villain vibes for women. She's just done a phenomenal job.
She was Cersei, right?
She was Cersei, yes. And then she was also
I only watched a little bit of Game of Thrones, so
yeah. And then she was also in 300. She was the Spartan queen who was like, yeah, just go execute that dude, like make it happen.
You can't forget that one. That's like, even though it was false historical recollection of what happened,
very false.
It was still a good show.
Yeah, it was a good movie. And then I liked Liam Cunningham. I really liked his Man at Arms, because like that was a good voice for it. He brought a lot of charisma, brought a lot of talent, brought a lot of depth to it, and like I did not. For the longest time, there was a YouTube channel that I always watched called Man at Arms, where they forged like geeky weapons, and I never, for the longest time, made the connection. Man at Arms was literally just a take directly from He-Man, Masters of the Universe, and like, doy.
And a lot of people also forgot that wasn't his name; that was his title. Yeah. His name was not Man at Arms; it was Duncan. His title was Man at Arms in the court. But
he was dunking on all these fools with these tools.
Right. And that's why when Tila was getting promoted, she was going to be Man at Arms. That was going to be her new title. Because right now she was just captain. Man at Arms is the top dog. That's the one that leads everybody. Duncan was done. It was Teela's turn.
And Tila was like, "Bye guys, had a good run. I'm out." Couldn't
And
believe the
so,
lies. I mean, it was definitely a huge twist. We never really expected them to kill off the main character, but I'm pretty sure we'll get into the audience score now. That is exactly why the audience was so pissed off. It's because you killed off your main two characters, your main two draws. 15
and
minutes
made
in,
it
it had the side characters have to carry. If you didn't like the
and
actual
made it
IP, you're not
and
about
it
it.
made you made it a feminist show basically. That's technically what I've been seeing. But I'm like,
Who cares? Like, if it's a good acting performance, I'm not really about that. Like, He-Man is about every character being strong in their own unique way.
right, and Teela wasn't no punk in the original show at all.
No, she's
So
putting hands on everybody of every, like, whatever perceived race you had in this show. Like, you had, like, the lizard people, you had a man-beast. I mean, like, there was a lot of stuff going on, and you're just like,
and
she's putting
she was
hands on
body armor.
everybody.
And then let's not hope they bring in She-Ra next because then y'all really gonna get triggered. Because She-Ra can beat He-Man. Watch it. That's gonna be hilarious.
Like, there's a lot of different pieces going on. There's a lot of good stuff with it, but that is exactly why the audience score is what it is. But I feel like the Rotten Tomatoes are giving it its due because they're like, you're respecting the original, but you're developing your back roster characters so they get more spotlight.
Which is what you need. You just can't have like even though the OG show was He-Man, 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 He-Man. Oh, we got some
So
more.
anytime
sidekick
shit got
characters coming in.
serious, by the power of Grayskull, he'd whoop everybody's ass. Show's over.
Right, but this brings into account what happens when he's not here. What happens if he can't make it? Perfect example, Thundercats.
I know.
All of them could fight. All of them could beat Lion-O, but Lion-O was the linchpin, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if Lion-O wasn't there,
They
the
started falling apart.
Thundercats, but they were still a force. They
Yeah.
wouldn't be as solid as if Lion-O was there, but they still was a force.
Yeah, because then Mum-Ra would still be putting hands on people.
Right, but of course, different level of villain. Mum-Ra, Lion-O,
Oh, yeah.
Mum-Ra, the rest of them. But in He-Man, when he wasn't around, which it did happen a couple times, his sidekicks would get laid out.
And then they'd have
They
to
would-
regroup, power of teamwork, they pull it together.
And then here he comes.
Yeah.
Well, where's He-Man? Like I said, it was rare that he wasn't there. Like if he had to stay at the castle to protect the sorcerers, they weren't getting to that castle. But anything going on outside, his team was probably losing.
It's like,
In this version, everybody got pushed up. Everybody. You talking about Orko in the original version?
you couldn't
failed
cast a
not-
basic ass spell, and then this one, he's literally holding back like the Skeletor of like the underworld. Like he had a lot of good respect.
He was
on him.
Scareglow. That's who he. So technically, he was fighting the devil and holding his own and winning. That trumped everything he's done in the entire original series.
Probably every single entity and IP that's ever been existed. Just he was that dude for this one. He would look like the strongest character out of
Man,
every character
let-
they presented.
Let's look at Man at Arms, fighting on top of a building sniper rifles like he fucking MacGyver, then jumping down and fighting hand to hand and knocking out most of the folks.
And like when he had that whole laser beam, he just literally lit up the acolytes or cultists or whatever you wanted to call them. He just lit them up, laser beam.
fucking
All of them
fuck
blow
them
up. It's like, yeah, they'll be back. That's like the third platoon a day, and you're like, the third what now?
Yeah, he's fighting them off by himself now.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing that in the original. He
In the
had an army
original,
with him.
he'd whip a lot of ass, but then eventually he'd get taken down and just worn out. And
Teela's so much more overpowered now. It's fucking ridiculous.
but if you had to wrap up the highlight for you, what was the key moment for you?
I mean, I don't think I can say I had a specific key moment. I liked all 5 episodes as a whole. I think, but my favorite episode would probably be near the end when we got to heaven to see Prince Adam and give us the rest of the previous heroes, that to me was like, okay, because they all had the same bill except for the female who not speaking English was fucking hilarious to me.
It's like,
It was just like, and they understood about like, can I have subtitles or some shit? That I was on the floor with them every time she talked. I think that, and then the fact that I said earlier that he chose to stay in his Prince Adam form for eternity than his He-Man form showed me what type of character that he was in this series. Showed that he preferred to be himself, and even though he was He-Man, the core of himself, kind of like Captain America, earned him that title to be He-Man. Just like before Captain America, Steve Rogers became Captain America, what he did before that put him on the pedestal to become Captain America.
yeah, he still was who he was. He just gained extraordinary powers.
And it just shows you Prince Adam is, hey, this is who I am.
Like, this is not like a costume and show routine for me. This is who I am day in, day out, every second.
And he was still up there hanging out with the big dogs. They still had respect for him.
Yeah.
It's just, this is the form I choose.
So it was what it was.
As a whole, I think I enjoyed it. It's not like Loki or Scarlet Witch where I could pick an episode that kept me going. This one had, from the start of the, well, we fucking killing He-Man, getting rid of Skeletor, all the way to the end, it kept me watching.
You were invested.
Which is basically what you want out of a show. You want to not get like WandaVision,
where it just kind of dragged for a while.
It dragged. It could have been shorter, but like I said, we know we're getting a number 2, hopefully,
quote unquote.
Because I would like to see what happens, because we always wondered what would happen if Skeletor won.
And now we're about to see that, because I mean,
and now we're about to see
huge power boost, and he was putting hands on everybody. Because he took the power of Grayskull. It wasn't like he just took a little bit of magic.
So the Sorceress is down, He-Man is down, Orko is down. All your magicians are gone.
It's literally just Skeletor and Evil Lyn against the world. But I think there's going to be that twist of Evil Lyn's going to betray him in the long run.
And see, I don't want that.
It's probably what's going to happen, though.
I know, but that's not.
There was that long pause when Skeletor was like, "Come join me." That is what I'm foreshadowing.
You know what? You know what I would like to see, even though it's been done. Let's think of the Infinity Gauntlet, the book, not the movie, because the book was different and better. Okay. You had Thanos and Gamora. Thanos brought Gamora back, right?
Mm.
When he left his body to go fight Eternity and become Eternity, Gamora snatched that shit for herself.
So you're hoping she kills Skeletor, takes the throne.
I'm just saying, we already know that she's in it for the magic. That's the only reason she agreed to help the Sorceress in the first place. Because without magic, she ain't shit. So what if she already got a bodyguard. She got a bodyguard who'll do anything for her. What happens when Skeletor drops his guard? Because we know he gonna get cocky. That's his major downfall. He's overconfident. What happens if he drops his guard? She takes advantage of it. And now she's running things.
I think it'd be a much better run Empire, because I mean, every villain even pointed out Skeletor's downfall. So I mean,
right.
Even like the B and C list villains were like, yeah, Skeletor has some problems.
Idiot. He's an idiot. We get tired of following idiots. What if Evil Lyn takes over?
Like Merman pointed out, he's like, I was in it for you. Like I wasn't in it for like Skeletor. It was like I was about you and what you were talking about. It wasn't Skeletor. So it's like the fact you didn't seek me out, that hurt me. It wasn't like Skeletor's gone. It was like we could have had something.
I'm just saying.
But like, if you had to give it a rating out of 10, hit me with it. Just so we can give the Grown Geeks kind of perspective of what we got going on.
As a standalone, not comparing it to the OG, I'll give 7.5. Give it 7.5. If I'm comparing the characters now to the characters then, I'll be closer to a 9. Just because I think the characters now have more development, a better story. You did have Tila going through her little whatever, but if I look past that, the development, the story, how they interacted with each other was way better than the original.
Hmm.
But as a standalone, no, hey, this is all we looking at. 7.5 at best. It would have been higher without Tila doing her thing. Maybe if we got a longer fight with He-Man and Skeletor, because the fight was, come on, it was way too short.
It was very succinct. It was like they
It
knew each
it was
other's
like
moves and they just skipped right past it, past like all the little bullshit that they would have done in the originals.
it was like a Superman versus Batman fight if Superman actually was trying. That's how long the fight was. Mm.
Yeah, short, sweet, to the point.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only things that I really didn't like. So yeah, I give it a strong 7.5.
Like
Yeah,
exactly what you were saying with the characters and how much everything's been upgraded. That has to be a 9. There were very few characters that got downgraded or brought down. Smith brought a lot of respect from the originals to the new ones, and they really elevated their cast and crew. And that's exactly what you should have, a very, very strong base, so you're not reliant upon like your main to carry everybody and everything on their back. Because like if you're coming out with like a He-Man show, like even if it's like just you're looking at say just toy sales, He-Man and Skeletor gotta sell like nobody's
they're gonna
business,
sell everything.
sell like hotcakes. But now that you're elevating the rest of your cast, you know that you're gonna be able to bring in some extra money and you're gonna be able to build in some development, and maybe work your way into spin-offs if people love a certain character and like a certain part of their backstory wasn't fleshed out a certain way.
Right,
It's a
because
very, very good build.
in my opinion, in the original, the main characters were, of course, He-Man and Skeletor. Those were your top draws. That was it. That's what the toys everybody wanted. So when they put out a toy line, it was He-Man and Battle Cat, or alternate He-Man Night Glow version, or Skeletor with the Night Glow. And then you had your second level, which was Man at Arms, Orko, Cringer, Evelyn. Those were your second levels. And then you had your third level like Trapjaw, Triclops, Merman, Man at Arms, Ram Man, who they didn't even put in here. I was hating to see that little short fucker in here. Then you had those. But now, if you put out a new toy line, you're still gonna sell your He-Man and your Skeletor. But now these little girls that are out here
They can
that
be
don't want to
Tila.
be they don't want to be Tila. I mean, they don't want to be He-Man. They want to be Tila or Evelyn. Because you just elevated their characters to stardom. They're up in the front for the entire series. You gave them two strong female characters that they can now identify with.
And then if
So
you
we could
count,
be
was it
evil.
you said Andra was
Andra.
yeah, because literally Andra was intelligence. Tila was
She was
just
like Siri.
being
She's like
super
Siri.
strong, and Evelyn was super smart. You have 3 different areas that young girls could look up to and be like,
And if you
these
got
aren't like
sisters,
sex symbol characters. These are just characters that are just
if you
very
got
strong on their
sisters,
own.
like I got 2 of my daughters. I know my oldest is gonna be Evelyn because she's fucking evil. I know this. She's demented as hell. She don't think I know this, but I know my children. The other one, the more athletic one, will be Tila. That'll be who she chooses. So now you got in a family. Think about you got a big family out here. The boys gonna go get He-Man and Skeletor, depending on if they want to be good or bad. They sisters, oh, I can play now too. I got Tila. Or hey, I'm on your side because I got Evelyn. And then of course you get the youngest will always be Orko. he'll be the one
The
to get
littlest
Orko.
always
He'll
has to
just
get the one character that's like kind of comic relief, or be like, oh no, you're just gonna be
and then,
Cringer.
but then
It's
you
like,
just get
damn.
Orko and you just start throwing it at people, and that's pretty much all you can do. But building the characters sold this one for me. I like that. I like character development. I don't like them to be stacked. I know what I remember. Give me something new, but make it still the same.
Yeah, because like out of a 10 rating for me, I gave it a 7. Um, the character development was amazing, but the show itself was a 7. Like I was interested enough to keep going, but there were still major issues that I had with like Tila's story was too long. We both agreed on that. We both agreed Mark Hamill's voice was not what I thought it was going to be, and it was a huge letdown. Because I mean, you say Mark Hamill in a property, I'm in. But if it's the same voice every single time, like I'm not going to be just all about that every single time. There are times where you can get away with it. It's passable. This is not one of those occasions.
This was the perfect opportunity to bring out a new voice,
Yeah.
and the only thing you did was alter your pronunciation of certain words.
I was like, and then I wanted more Skeletor and I wanted more He-Man, but I still love that they relegated him back. I feel like 15 or 20 minutes more screen time wouldn't have withdrawn from them, but that it's such nitpicking. It's not a huge draw. Like, this is a good show. I would recommend it
If
for
we get
people.
into a second season, that's what we're gonna get.
Well, it's
We're
the
gonna
second
get
part
more
of
the man.
season 1.
Season 1.
This is the mid-season finale we're at.
So if we get the rest of the first season, it's pretty much what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
You're gonna get what you wanted at first.
Unless they figure out how to get Adam back. That's going to be the interesting thing. But I feel like we've covered everything else pretty much succinctly. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 95. Audience score was a 36. You can definitely tell that there was a lot of bias being thrown there, though, and it's still relatively new. It literally came out 3 days ago. We just wanted to make sure we were up to date with the latest and greatest of what is going on in the world of geeks. I have been Brent, who's been hosting as Skellahor. Up top, we have the Condom Meant King, Tony, who's providing all of his insight from back in the day.
The 80s, bitches.
It's like I was not a thing back then. I was not there. I
I
had to watch all those reruns on Cartoon Network, Boomerang, all that good
I'm
stuff.
telling you, I had the He-Man. You put the sword in his hand and you hit a button on his back, and the motherfucker turned.
With swinging action, like back when that was.
I had the one, man. Yup. I had the cringer that just, if you hit him the right way, the whole shit fly off his body. Yeah, I mean, it was great.
Well, Tony, I believe there's something you'd love to say to the folks at home.